Well, it's been a long while, friend. Thanks for uh, taking the summer off with us and hanging out with those kids of yours, and hopefully playing a little ball and hitting the beach and just making memories. Coach Ballgame here on the Talkin' Shop podcast, episode 68. This is kicking off season 3 right here, and I'm sad to say we don't have Coach Chopper today. I'm going to give you a recap of my crazy, wild, nutty summer. But Chopper's got a new job. You may recall that at the end of season 2, he let us know that he's got a new gig as an athletic director of a high school. So he had some duties to take care of. He'll be back next week, and we'll crank it up with him. But to all of you that I might have shook hands with on the road this summer, I say thank you. It's been a summer to remember in many ways, and I just want to start by saying thank you to all of our Patreons that keep supporting us. They keep Tommy Gold's lights on as he edits our social media videos. And I'm just thankful for this community that we've built. And I saw a lot of you on the road, got to meet you in person. And I think the biggest takeaway, I posted this on my Instagram, shoot me some questions. One of the questions was actually from one of my boots in Charlottesville, Virginia. Coach Big Hurt asked, what's the biggest takeaway? I think it's just the massive amounts of good people that are out there that I got to meet, that noticed a need in their community, whether that be more fun in their little league community, or more engagement, or character, whatever it might be. They did something about it. They called me up and said, hey, let's do this thing. And I know it wasn't easy for all my boots out there to try and rally the troops and get a bunch of folks to sign up for this thing. And you did it. And I'm very, very appreciative. The highlight of my summer so far has been the coaches clinics that we've been doing after the Sandlot. We do the 3-hour camp with the kids. Lots of great volunteers out there digging their feet in, coming up with nicknames and teaching the game of baseball. But afterwards, we unpack that camp, and I just ask questions, and they ask questions, and we have a great little roundtable discussion. And I try and lay out a really fun, effective schedule, practice schedule for them as their fall ball begins. But it cranked up in Nova Scotia. My good pal Davo, we call him the unit. He got it going there, and then drove up to Prince Edward Island. Got to borrow Davo's truck and drive 4 hours north, practically in Newfoundland. But Prince Edward Island was beautiful. Coach Bernsey was there. He was my boots, and he's building something very strong there in Canada. I really loved my Canadian swing because hockey is king. But what I've noticed is this message of Sandlot and character and fun going ahead of wins. It's needed in hockey too. So some great baseball up there in Canada, some great hockey, but the message is the same. So from there, we flew down to Boston, and I met Mrs. Ballgame and Baby Ballgame and Biddy Ballgame there. And it continued to feel like a college reunion tour. Unit in Nova Scotia was a pitcher on our team at Brown. And then throughout the Boston area, Cape Cod, Milton, Mass, and Westboro, Mass, my boots on the ground there were college friends. And they brought their kids. And it was just a great way for me to introduce my family to my college family. And I got a very tight-knit group there from college. I think I'm in the minority, but we stay in touch. And the girls really were excited to go to Cape Cod and see New England for the first time. Took the girls to a Red Sox game at Fenway. I mean, the monster, baby. Gotta love it. And just some really great feedback from the Massachusetts swing. I had a good buddy who I actually was in acting class with back in the day. He's from Massachusetts, and he was able to sit in the bleachers, and he said it brought a tear to my eye just watching you tell the Roberto Clemente story and teach the game of baseball to all these Massachusetts boys. But had a really good time doing that. And then afterwards, the coaches clinic. I think the most challenging part of the coaches clinic, which went down about 8:30 p.m. every night, was the gnats. There was a lot of bugs, and we were slapping our legs as we went through these coaches clinics. But really thankful for all my boots in Massachusetts, Coach Annie and Coach Pick in Cape Cod, Big Mike in Milton, Mass, and Kyle the Golden Graham in Westboro. Once again, you guys, you found me a field and you got the word out to your community. And I know some of you boots on the ground, you had a tough time getting the local little leagues behind it. Well, that's okay. This was a plant the seeds first go. You know, I did 5 sandlots in 2021 in 5 different cities. I did 22 last year. We're trying 60 this year. So there's a lot of ground to be broken, and I just applaud all my boots that rallied because I think there's some value to a coach's clinic where these parents and coaches who might be electricians or nurses or may have never played ball, they want to help their kids out. They want to make it fun. They want to teach them the game. So if I can give them anything I've learned from my mentors or from my mistakes, I love doing it. So Massachusetts was sweet. From there, we went to Connecticut. We had Jeff the mayor in Litchfield, Connecticut, and we had some nasty rain that night. So what did we do? We found a gym. I texted him. I said, hey, it looks pretty bad. Do we have an indoor facility? He's like, well, I actually have a gymnasium across the street. And we were able to open that up and had a great sandlot in Litchfield, Connecticut, and then down to Waterford. The First Lady, Kristen, she blew up this big flyer of the sandlot with all the specifics on it and put it on the snack shack there in Waterford. And we had a great turnout there, a lot of coaches as well. But in Connecticut, I noticed that some of the coaches that came to volunteer for the sandlot and then participate in the coaches clinic, they came from a long way away. And this continued in New Jersey and Virginia, where these coaches, and some of them were board members of little leagues or presidents of little leagues, they said, hey, we drove 2 hours to be here. Why don't you come to our town next year? And that's kind of how we're building this out. And those passionate coaches and parents that really want to see a change, and maybe they got a chip on their shoulder because they've seen this win at all costs atmosphere just trickle in and make things a little toxic. They're doing something about it. So many thanks to the mayor and the First Lady, and then over to Scranton, PA. Wild Bill, I call him. He got things going in Scranton, PA. We had a good sandlot there, and probably the biggest coaches turnout for a coaches clinic. I think every parent stayed, and we just talked. How are things going in the Little League there in Scranton? What's going great? What can be fixed? How can I help? And I will lay out this plan of what I've been kind of running through on my tour with the coaches clinic. I'll lay that out after I say thank you to each of these boots. But I think it'll help you. I think it'll help you as you start your fall ball and you start to meet 12 new kids, and you need to figure out how to spend 90 minutes effectively. So I'll get that going. That's a tease. I'll jump into that in a few minutes. We had Richie turning 2 in Ridgewood, New Jersey. That's the 3rd time I've been to Ridgewood and Glen Rock area in the year 2023. So always a stop there. The girls got to stay in New York City. We did a Jonas Brothers concert at Yankee Stadium. Let's go. I actually loved it. I love me some Jonas Brothers, and the girls, they made big signs. Of course, they loved that. And then we did Wicked on Broadway as well. So it was really important to me that we make some family memories along this trip. We also stopped in Mystic, Connecticut, which is a real gem. And I got some Big Lebowski socks and a shirt. That's what I did. So a really good time in the tri-state area. Ridgewood brought some folks from an hour and a half, 2 hours away, who had just, they listen to the podcast or follow me on social media, and drove 2 hours. We played till dark, had a coach's clinic in the dark with some sprinkling rain. And thank you to all of you that came to that. Then down to Hamilton, New Jersey. That's our third time there as well this year. And the El Presidente mowed the grass right before our sandlot, made sure the field was looking good. And I got to hit that Trenton, Philly area there. A lot of kids were nicknamed Bryson Stott or Bryce Harper in that town. But Hamilton, love you. Appreciate you, Presidente. And then down to Virginia. We hit Springfield, which is just outside of D.C., Carrollton, which is the Virginia Beach area, and then Charlottesville. In Springfield, we had Coach Adam, who is, he's high ops in the military. So first things first, thank you for your service, Coach Adam. You've got a very busy work schedule, and you spent time trying to get this thing off the ground in your town. Your boys were awesome to coach. And we had a really good group of kids there that were dialed in with an epic team meeting pose right out of the gates. And this was an eye-opener, because this is where we had folks coming from the Richmond area, north of DC, over in Maryland. We had a lot of coaches come that were very passionate about this message. And I think from this Springfield, Virginia sandlot in 2023, we're going to spring maybe 4 brand new sandlots in that DC area. I'll backtrack a little bit. In the Hamilton sandlot, we had some folks from Tom's River, and I've been waiting for some boots to slide into my DMs from Tom's River, because I know that's a big Little League town. So we're going to get Tom's River going in 2024. And that DC greater area. Over to Carrollton, which is near Norfolk in the Virginia Beach area. And my man, Coach White Lightning, who has brought his 18 kids. I think he's got 18 children now, maybe 5. But he and Mrs. White Lightning, they get in the van, and if I'm ever anywhere near North Carolina or Virginia, they come. And so thank you, the White Lightning crew, and Coach Cole Bond, who really found us the field, helped get that word out. Just so inspired to, wasn't that many kids at that one, but you had a kid that drove an hour, and they loved watching Coach Ballgame videos, and to be able to meet them, give them a nickname, coach them for 3 hours, tell them these stories, and then take a picture with them. I mean, I've figured this out, that some of these kids, they do look up to Coach Ballgame like I did Andre Dawson, and I'll never totally understand that. I just feel like a hick, bumpkin from North Carolina. But there are kids that see my videos on their parents' phone or on the YouTube, and they're kind of shocked to meet me, and I just say, hey, I'm just a guy from North Carolina that loves coaching kids. So we came up with great nicknames and had another good coaches clinic there in Carrollton. And then Charlottesville was another highlight. Coach Big Hurt, we went golfing that day, got to chat. I think that's one of the best ways I can get to know somebody and throw some ideas back and forth, is on a golf course. So we set that up, went to lunch, actually took a nap at his house right before the sandlot, and it was a little bit hot, but again, we had coaches from 2.5 hours away that came just to smell the sandlot, see it in person. And I think that's the idea, is in this year of 2023, if a few good people can just see it and really hear the cheer, the joy, hear the stories, and just see these kids' faces and see how impactful it can be, and then see how much information can be delivered during these coaches clinics as well. I think it's a good way to plant some seeds and grow for 2024. But Charlottesville was amazing. Thank you, Big Hurt, for dialing that in. Attaboy. Then I got to go home for 2 days. I got to hang out with my brothers, and I got to hang out with my parents, and got to spend the night at the home that I grew up in, and even did an Instagram live with my dad, where we discussed how to foster a good baseball relationship with parents and kids. And I've been very outspoken on this pod and on my socials about how he was just a really cool baseball dad. He kept it quiet during the games, and really, I never felt pressure to succeed in a big moment from him. It was really even keeled at all times. So got to unpack and actually ask him why and where that came from. Where did that technique of yours come from? I'm sure you felt some anxiety in these big moments. I'm a ninth grader coming into a varsity state championship baseball game, coming to close in the game, and I'm sure he was nervous and wanted to yell, but he just never drank that Kool-Aid. So that's a good one. It's on my Instagram feed at Coach Ballgame. But Papa Ballgame, we had some good conversation there. Good lasagna. Mom makes the best. And just some good family time. I always feel kind of centered when I head home, and just go to Franklinville Diner there and have some breakfast. And it was a real nice reboot. Then drove over to Louisville, Kentucky, stopped in Knoxville, which is about halfway from my home in Carolina to Louisville. And I got to have some dinner at Calhoun's. Great barbecue if you're ever in Knoxville, right on the water. Go to Calhoun's. And then another 4-hour drive up to Louisville, where we had our biggest turnout of the August tour. Louisville was amazing, 60 kids. And the coolest part was my boots there, which was Coach Matt. He's a fireman, call him Matt the Fireman. He played pro ball. And then he came back to his hometown there in Louisville, and he noticed that this little league that he grew up playing in, and the place he fell in love with the game, it was in ruins. There were weeds and high grass, and there were no kids playing. So he did something about it. He's got 5 kids of his own, and he thought, well, my kids, if I want them to have the same childhood I had, I'm going to do something about it. Got the lawnmower out, and started putting the pieces together. Got some other good coaches to jump on board to build this team, to help build this culture. Coach Hosedown is his right-hand man there, and we called him Coach Hosedown because it was hot in Louisville. And we had a water hose, and every water break, Coach Hosedown would just cake these kids with some good cold water. So I love that story. I want to bring Coach Matt the Fireman on just so he can tell his side of the story, and why in the world would he want to do all that work. He's a fireman. That's a lot of work. He's got 5 kids. That's a lot of work. And then his youngest daughter is known as the ballpark kid. She's like 2 years old. And she's just always at the ballpark because they have put a lot of time and energy into that. But being able to go there and sing my tune, tell my stories, do my thing, it felt like home. And we've already planned for 2024 to do it the weekend of the Kentucky Derby. Let's go. Get in on a Thursday night. Try to play Valhalla Friday morning. Do a Sandlot Friday night. They actually have school off the Friday before the Derby. It's a thing. And then me and Mrs. Ballgame can put our big hats on and go to the Derby on Saturday. That's the idea. And then we closed out the August tour with Nashville. I mean, come on, a little 2-hour drive from Louisville. And my boots, Matt Carullo, who actually grew up with my good pal Dan Spring in the D.C. area. Carullo ran into some difficulties. He had a field and then he lost it. It happens to my boots where, we've lost the field. What do we do? He texts Barry Zito and actor Jonathan Shake, and those 2 studs found us a field. So thank you, Carullo. Thank you, Jonathan Shake. And thank you, Barry Zito, who brought his guitar. And you might have seen it on my Instagram. He's a talented musician, Cy Young Award winner, World Series champion. He's been on the pod, friend of the pod. But he brought the guitar, and he's got two young boys. And he wants to teach them the love of the game, just like he had. He had a dad that taught him love of play. He wants the same thing. So he wrote a song called Ballpark Kids. Please go listen to it on Spotify. And I got to jump on the drums and play that tune with him. But what a way to end that crazy tour. Started in Nova Scotia, ended in Nashville. But you're the best, all my boots. I just wanted to name you all by nickname and say thank you. And I can't wait to do it again in 2024. I certainly will be back. And as I come back to these cities year in, year out, I want to keep building. I want to keep building brand new things. So this year it was the coaches clinic, really building that up because there's so much value there. A lot of the coaches that helped me coach these sandlots, and there were 405 kids that attended in August in these different cities. These coaches, they're going to coach hundreds and thousands of kids that I'll never meet. So to give them some of these tools and resources is super important. And the tools and resources I gave were pretty simple. The Coach Ballgame lens, which we've talked about on the pod here a lot. Character and fun. In a world where it's win first, skill development second, flip that on its head and make youth baseball about character and fun. And I used to treat them equally, but I've been watching some of the Little League World Series, and I've been noticing that some of these bat flips and some of these celebrations that stem from having fun have actually transitioned into shoving it in the other team's face. And we're not about that. That's not what a ball player does. Yeah, we want to let the kids play. We want to have a great time. But when you're saying na 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 boo boo to the other team, so to speak, and you're displaying just a shove it in your face kind of mentality, well then that's gone overboard. There's always a balance to everything in your diet, in the fun that you have. There is a balance. So I am treating character as 1A. Let's teach that first, and then love of play and fun as 1B. And I think when you're looking through that lens of building character, then when they hit that home run, they're not going to shove it in the other team's face. They're not going to be disrespectful. They're going to be respectful of the other team and say, you know what, I'm just going to Mickey Mantle it around the bases. I hit a bomb and I helped my team win the game, but I'm just going to jog around with my head down and beat them with my bat instead of my dance moves or my celebration. So find that balance. So there's character and fun. Third place is skill development as far as my lens goes. And then winning the game comes in last. It should be last place. And if you have that outlook, I think you will win more games. Why? Because the kids aren't afraid to fail in the big moment. When it's about character and love of play, you're just trying to get the kid to come back next year. You want them to come back because the game's so fun. So when they strike out, you're not going to yell at them. You're not going to curse them. You're not even going to yell at the umpire if they made a bad call, because you're not trying to win the game that day. You're trying to build this kid up to be a great dad, a great brother, a great student. That's where your priorities are. So all that toxic stuff, it kind of goes by the wayside. And that's what I noticed on this tour. I think maybe the second big takeaway on this tour was that there's so many great people out there, so many great coaches that care and are looking through that right lens, that all these viral videos I've seen of umpires getting punched by coaches and parents screaming and things of that nature, that it's not fake news. It is out there, but it is it's the drastic stuff. It's like when you watch the news, all you see is the bad. And these viral videos, a lot of times it's just the bad, but there's so much good. If you really drive into Carrollton, Virginia, or you drive down to a Ridgewood, New Jersey, or into a Scranton, PA, and you meet these people. No, they're all in good places. And I had a great question come up in my Charlottesville, Virginia coaches clinic of, I'm a travel ball coach. No, actually, this was Springfield. Excuse me. This was Springfield, VA. Coach Clemente asked this. He had a Clemente jersey on, big Clemente fan. He said, I'm coaching a 10U team. And I really am passionate about your message. I want to push that on, and that's what I'm doing. But I feel like a fish out of water. I feel like I'm in the minority. And I think the entire coaching staff at that Springfield coaches clinic was like, "Atta boy, you should feel like a fish out of water in this culture." When every other coach, it's a money grab and they're trying to win as many trophies as they can, you're actually pushing these kids to be great people and to teach love of play. And you're looking at it like big picture thinking. I want this kid to be able to play high school ball and love the game. I want them to be a great student when they get to college, a good husband one day. And I said, hey, Mark Twain was right when he said, when you're on the side of the majority, it's time to take a good look in the mirror. Stay in that minority and lead by example. These other coaches that are win at all costs and yelling and screaming and just adding to the toxic nature of youth sports. Lead by example. They're watching you as you react to the way your kids strike out or fail, and they notice it. And yeah, maybe one part of their brain's thinking, "Oh, that's soft. That's soft. They're not even trying to win. It's just soft." Like some of the comments I see in my comment section on social media, especially TikTok. But deep down, they're like, "Huh, okay, I noticed that. I see that." And that's a different way of doing it. And then who knows? Maybe after you keep peppering them with all that positivity and all that love, they'll change their tune. That's the goal. But that was another great moment during my coaches clinic tour here in August. Was coaches that are in these elite travel ball communities, and that's necessary for these elite players. They need to be challenged, and a lot of them enjoy that tournament atmosphere. But you, as the coach, if you're trying to win that game that day, you're going to burn out your best pitcher. They're going to hurt their elbow. You're pitching them too many pitches. You're going to wean out the non-elite player who's not getting to play at all. Parents are going to be just cussing at umpires because they got to win that day, and they feel like that the umpire is not allowing them to win. And coaches, you're going to be yelling at your players more often and getting passive aggressive. All things that are not needed. Aaron Boone needs to win tonight, or he's going to lose his job as a Yankee manager. You, as a Little League coach, you're not going to lose your job. Sometimes you probably want to lose your job because it's so stressful and there's so much, and you're just volunteering your time. You'd rather be having dinner with your family. You're not going to lose your job if you lose. But I think that when I look back on my rookie years as a coach, when I feel pain, and I know Chopper will say the same thing, and he's told these stories on the pod, I feel pain when I think back and I'm like, I pushed some kids away from the game the way I was coaching with my tone, vernacular, whatever it might be. So, I have to live with that as do all of us. We learn by our failures and our mistakes. So, yeah, that's the lens. The next kind of on my list that I've been talking with my coaches about on this tour was the nicknames. And when I'm looking through that lens of fun and character, I think the fun aspect is really highlighted with the nicknames. These kids have never met me. Some of them have seen my videos, some have not. Some love the game, some some they don't like the game at all. You have kids from all walks of life in every state, and the first thing I'm doing is finding a shady spot, and we're spending 15 minutes and I'm asking them, hey, what'd you have for breakfast? What do you love to do? What what's your favorite thing to do other than baseball? What's your favorite smell? Superhero, animal, anything, just to get to know them and to let them know right away, I'm the fun coach. I'm not going to just pour skill development right down your throat out of the gates. I want to connect with you as a person. King Griffey Jr. taught me that. Name drop salute. Connect with your people. Connect with those kids. Ask them questions. So I build that trust right away with that 15-minute sesh of nicknames and letting them know, hey, I'm fun. I've got a nickname, and all my friends here that are coaching as well, they got nicknames too. So I can build that trust, and then I can throw in the character aspect with baseball cards. So the nicknames highlights the fun, and then the baseball cards highlights the character. In that team meeting, I am immediately able to tell, okay, that kid's dialed in, right? They're a leader, and they probably love the game of baseball. They are so excited to be here. Those two kids looking down at the grass, they're kind of bashful, or they don't want to be here. Either way, let's try to open up that can of worms a little bit. Let's see, why are they not really dialed in? Then you got the two that are cutting up and talking when they're not supposed to, disrupting the team meeting. So I'm taking everything in those 15 minutes and letting everybody know the expectations, that I will be the most fun coach you've ever met. But you gotta dial in that uncomfortable eye contact first. So that's how I approach my lens practically. And then the next D on my piece of paper, and I've still got this same piece of paper through all the different cities of what I've been working with in my coaches clinic, is the cones. A lot of coaches, I'll ask this question, hey, what kind of stuck out to you in this 3-hour camp? And a lot of them say the cones. And what I've done is I've set up cones before anybody gets there. And these are partner throw and catch cones. And we've talked about this too on the pod with me and Chopper, where if there is a sense of organization right when the kid arrives, then everything's going to just be easier. The cones actually serve as another coach. And I've got balls set on these cones. That way, as soon as we've done our nicknames and our first team meeting, and I stretch them out a little bit, we get their gloves and we get them to these cones, and they're playing catch with a partner. We also set up a bag line. Everybody hooks their bag on the fence in a line, and we put our gloves in a glove line. And I always say, if our equipment looks pretty in the dugout, then it's going to perform better. But just that, setting that tone of bag line, glove line, good team meeting pose, and all those cones, there's more organization. I've been to a lot of little league practices where, you got two kids tickling each other. Then you look out in center field, and 3 kids are climbing the fence. You look in right field, 4 kids are playing pepper. Everybody's everywhere, and it's just chaos. This can really help you. So that organization, those cones, plus I'm pretty allergic to stagnant or boredom, and I know kids are too. So with the partner throw and catch aspect, I can work the skills of catching, throwing, fielding right there in my cone setup, where kids have a one-on-one. It's not like 8 kids standing around while one kid's working on catching and throwing. Everybody's working and moving. And then a kind of a secret to the sauce, I learned this in teaching school. I call it catch the wave. After about 30 seconds of working one specific skill, or maybe we do a competition for points, I blow that whistle and I move on to the next thing. As soon as the engagement or the energy level from the kids seems to almost be at a peak, cut it off right there. Catch that wave and move on to the next. That's just a little secret to the sauce. And that's the cones. The next phase of your practice schedule should be small groups. If you've got a team of 12, then you've got to expect at least 3 separate groups of skill level or experience. You'll have the newcomers, maybe 4 of those, non-elite. You'll have the middle of the road who've played a few years, kind of like it, not sure about it. And then you've got the 4 experienced, seasoned veterans, elite, and you want to group them up by skill level and by experience. That way, the kid throwing 90 is not popping the newcomer in the face with a bloody nose. You want to group them up in small groups. Hopefully, you've got 3 coaches for a 12 kid practice, and maybe in right field you're working on fly balls or batting practice. Maybe in the infield you're working on force outs at second or cutoffs. Maybe in left field you're working on a pitching station or a catching station. But get creative with these small group stations. Use footballs, use tennis balls, do bare hand stuff. Yeah, sure, you can use gloves and real hard balls, but mix it up. Just keep surprising the kids with different things. I mean, heck, maybe even throw a kickball station out there in left field just to kind of keep kids fresh. My daughters are really knee deep in dance, and they absolutely love it. And one thing me and my wife, Mrs. Ballgame, discuss is just let's just make sure there's something fresh, something totally different in the mix there. That way, they're not just always doing one thing. Diversify the portfolio a little bit. So in your practices, and yeah, mix that in, and then end every practice. Could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes with some sort of sandlot game. Yeah, it can be a hard ball and a glove and helmets and using their own bats, machine pitch, coach pitch, kid pitch, whatever. But I think a lot of the kids really love just a rag ball and a broomstick, or share one bat and use a tennis ball. Coach pitch, coach catch, throw in the peg rule like kickball where you can peg the runner. But when I ask 100 kids, what's your favorite part of camp? 90 of them say the sandlot game, which we also call the Roberto Clemente game, because Roberto used a lemon for a ball and a stick for a bat. But get that game going. It really leaves them with the idea of, wow, man, baseball is a birthday party. It's so much fun. I can't wait to come back tomorrow. And that takes it all the way back to number one, the lens. You've done your job. You made them want to come back tomorrow with that fun. I actually, before I did a sandlot in Nashville, there was a team, and they finished off with a water balloon fight where they were, tossing a water balloon, trying to catch it. And the last 2 ball players standing won the contest. But as those kids were walking away and I was walking in, I'm like, I'm gonna have to use that. And they're like, you should. It was fun. Those kids are gonna come back to the next practice energized because you finished off practice on a really high fun note. So that's the sandlot. Finally, as the parents arrive, some of them stay, some of them go. They have work and other kids to manage. But when they come pick up the kids, you have an award ceremony. And that is where, and we did this in every town, where each coach gave out an award, not for the best player. It's not even a game ball for the home run hitters or the fastest throwers, but we keep score of your character at the sandlot. And so the kids that were cheering before anybody else was, paying attention before anybody else was, dancing on a toilet, being down and ready, or giving out fist bumps before anybody else was. They were the leaders. They get a highlight. They get an award. And when the parents see that you, as a coaching staff, you're building this culture where we're going to award good choices, they'll buy in. They'll buy into that, and then they won't put as much pressure on their kid to go 3 for 4. They won't yell at the umpires. They won't yell at their kids in high leverage moments. They'll just sit back, eat some popcorn, and smile, and they'll allow you to coach. That's something I'm very very forthcoming with is set the expectations early on with your parents, so everybody's on the same page. Hey, we might go 0-15 this year. I don't think we are, but that's not priority one. Can I make them better people? Can I make them fall in love with the game? And can we build their skills in that order? And I know your intentions are good, parents. Chopper is really good at this, and he's taught this in previous episodes of kind of how he approaches parents that are clinging to the fence too hard or yelling too loud when their kid's in the batter's box. Your intentions are good, but it's unproductive. It's making them perform worse. So that I challenge you to just sit back, eat some popcorn, smile, and see what happens. I bet they perform better. And I've posted a couple of these videos on my social media as well. Just things I've learned along the way. You seem to have the practice version of a kid, which a lot of times is high energy and high production. But then the game version, it falls off because there's a spotlight on them. There's umpires, the scoreboard's on, a lot more fans. And we've got to make sure that these kids, while they are very nervous and they know it's a big moment, right? They're not dumb. They're smart. They see all the stuff going on in these big games. We as parents, can we remind them it's just another game, just another day? I actually put a more high precedent on practice than I do the game. The practice is more important than the game. Let the game just be a time to enjoy and entertain the crowd, and I bet they'll perform better. So build that culture up, and we're doing it city by city on this tour. I'm really proud of it. Really proud of the positive community we are building, and you're all a part of it. All the boots, all the parents, all the coaches that came on this tour. If I backtrack a little more, the 8 weeks of summer camp we did here in Orange County was fantastic. And I sent out an email to all those parents as well. That I think that the best part of all of it is these kids that are coming to my summer camps in Orange County in 10 years, they're going to be coaches. And that's kind of how it's been working. It gives me a chance to hang out with these kids a little longer into their high school days. But we're starting to turn it out and get kids that used to be great campers are now coaches, and they turn into the best coaches because they've grown up in this culture. But very, very proud. We did Denver in June, and I don't even think we discussed that on this podcast, but that was outstanding. Had to do it indoors because of rain, but my man Sean Flicky, friend of the pod, came down and helped me coach that. And then MLB sent me on a few really epic spots. The All-Star game in Seattle was it was high, next level, and the All-Star game always is. I go to 10 MLB gigs a year, and as far as access to former major leaguers or current major leaguers, the All-Star game is the creme de la creme. Felix Hernandez came by, King Felix. Andre Dawson did a staring contest with one of our campers at the play ball camp. Edgar Martinez did an attaboy challenge with him. What an absolute stud he is, and a great man. And then MLB sent me over to Cooperstown for my first visit there. And if you haven't been, oh man, you got to go. You got to walk down Main Street. I mean, we did a couple of camps, play ball camps on Doubleday Field, which apparently is where baseball was invented. Abner Doubleday invented the game right there. And the people that have walked on those grounds, Lou Gehrig, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, Jackie Robinson, I mean, it is hallowed ground there at Doubleday. But walking down Main Street, you go into one of the 50 baseball card shops, and there's Pete Rose sitting back there signing autographs. I got a 1986 World Series ball signed by Doc Gooden, which was very, very special. And then they have a parade in Cooperstown where basically your childhood just rolls right in front of you on the back of a truck. Ricky Henderson and Raleigh Fingers and Ryan Sandberg and Andre Dawson, Ozzie Smith. And I had my big conga drum, which has got about 60 signatures on it. And I was playing that thing while they were cruising by. I had my pal, Coach Pterodactyl, who is strong boots on the ground here in Orange County with me. He joined me there in Cooperstown, and we just gave attaboys to every Hall of Famer that rode by. There were two specific Hall of Famers that spent more time than anybody else walking down this parade line of people signing autographs. Jim Thome, who is a Roberto Clemente Award winner, he signed the conga, came down, he held the conga, and he was like, "This is awesome." He signed his signature. And then Cal Ripken Jr., a Roberto Clemente Award winner, probably spent 2.5 hours and it wasn't just signing autographs. Like, he had present moments with each person. Hey, what's your name? Who are you? Thank you for coming. He signed a baseball that I gave to Papa Ballgame, my dad. His dad was a shortstop, loved Cal, and then he signed the drum as well. So, attaboy to Cal and Jim Tomey. That's now 11 Hall of Famers that have signed the Mac Daddy Conga drum. And really special, really special. My next MLB gig is in a couple of weeks, Roberto Clemente Day in Pittsburgh. We know it's going to be on the 16th from 11 to 2. For those of you in that area that want to come, I don't exactly know the address yet, but I'll be doing that. And then I'll head up to Erie, PA. I'll have a sandlot up there that night. But September is going to be even busier than August, folks. We hit, what did we hit? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 sandlots in August. I think we've got about 20 in September, and it starts next week. I'll actually do this podcast from Madison, Wisconsin. Friend of the pod, Coach Sparky. I'll probably be doing it from his house because we've got a sandlot that night in Madison, Wisconsin. He's got his whole little league coming in, coaches as well. We'll do a sandlot and a coaches clinic there, and then it's on to Milwaukee with the Brew Crew gang intact. I'm trying to get Jeff Levering to come, but I think the Brew Crew have a game that night, so he's probably got to work. But we'll do Milwaukee, then we'll head to the Chicago area for 4 sandlots in that broad Chicago area, St. Louis, and then Kansas City before we head over to Pittsburgh for Roberto Clemente Day. So the train rolls on, and you know, I have to pinch myself because these are quite possibly the best days of my life. You know, just Johnny Appleseeding my way from town to town in a Nissan Rogue rental car. Not a sponsor, by the way, but that car really did well on this August trek. It's just so fun, and it's so powerful to meet all of you that listen to this pod, that drive 2 hours from your home to do this sandlot thing, and especially those boots. So I think we're doing 60 cities this year. We might have 100 next year. Who knows? I think this thing's going to keep on growing. But that pinch me moment, it comes in every town, and I do not take it for granted. And I try and bring as much energy as I can to each town. A big atta-girl to Mrs. Ballgame. When I'm on the road, she's got to make the breakfast and the lunch and get these girls to dance and cheer practice. And we're trying to get the girls into basketball and volleyball too. So she gets a big atta-girl while I'm on the road. Really makes it possible for me to do this. And then Doodah Ballgame. Her mom also helping out as well. And I know a listener of this pod. So lastly, I posed on my Instagram just any questions anybody had yesterday, and we got some good ones. So I just want to quickly jump on these before I let you go. And Chad Chop, we missed you today. I hope I held the fort down while you are on your duties there in Arizona, and you'll be back next week, I know, for some good discussions. But fried or grilled? That was the first question I saw on my Instagram post yesterday. I got to be honest, I'm a grilled guy. I know. And going into some of these towns, a lot of good barbecue. Virginia, Louisville, Nashville. There's some good brisket. And I every town I go to, I ask my boots, hey, is there a good golf course? And is there some good food? And I was introduced to a lot of great food. But I think I got to go grilled. It just, my tummy, as I'm getting older, as I'm now 40 years old, it can't handle some of the stuff I used to. I feel like I used to be able to eat a carburetor or just drink anything. But these days I kind of gotta watch what I'm doing. So it's almond butter and some of the stuff that 10 years ago I've been like, come on, man. But now here we go. So grilled. I go grilled. What makes you want to go on tour and help these little leagues? Great question. Really desperation. I just can't handle these emails that come in and say my kid wants to quit the game. There's too much pressure, too many practices per week. Just not fun coaches, not fun atmosphere. So I knew there was a mission. I knew there was a problem, and I had a mission. And so I think there's that. I'm desperate to teach this game and how fun this game can be to every kid and every parent and coach. More importantly, to them, because they're the ones that really frame what the game can look like for all these kids. So I'm desperate for it. I'm kind of stubborn too. I can't allow my game to go down the hatchet. What is your biggest fear? Oh man, good question there, Gordo Brown. I think my biggest fear definitely has to be something to do with my kids, my daughters, my two girls. I think everybody can relate there, where you just want them to have the most lovely, awesome childhood, and you don't want anything bad to happen. And I think sometimes that thought can really wear you down and make you paranoid and anxious. And my goal throughout that fear is to just not allow it to take me over. I refuse to live in a state of fear. And it really, as we all know, as we get older, life gets really hard. And I think wherever you're at in life, whether you're spiritual or not, religious or not, but it's hard either way. It's hard every way. Bad things happen to really great people all over. But I think we must refuse to live in fear and move forward, carry on. And man, what a better way to move forward than go town to town and preach the Clemente gospel. It's a noble cause. So yeah, there's my biggest fear, and that's what I do about it. Pre-game routine. What's yours, and who's maybe your favorite pre-game routine? Well, as a player, I really did the same thing over and over. I did the same stretches. I kind of taped, and even this was even in football and basketball too. I kind of had the same person tape my feet the same exact way. I enjoy routine. Unless I was in a big slump, and then I might break it up. But I put the same amount of batting gloves in each back pocket. I put the same amount of sunflower seeds in my mouth. I tuck my shirt in the exact same way. Now, as a coach, it's turning into a little nap before the sandlots begin. These sandlots begin at 5 p.m. And a lot of times I'm driving that day, so it's a travel day, then some lunch, and then some sort of nap. But I try to get there early. I think preparation is the key. I need to set these cones up and kind of get everything dialed in, and get all my sweat out by 4:15. Then maybe I can have 10 minutes of quiet. I think that 10 minutes of just silence is huge, because when the kids arrive, I want to be 100% present, and I want to be engaged and fully energetic. So I drink a cup of coffee in the morning. I used to drink one in the evening to give me that late day pump up, but that turned into a lot of headaches. So I've moved out of that phase. So there's no pump up coffee pregame, but a lot of water and that 10-minute kind of rest or a little bit of a nap that gets me going. Thoughts on Little League players throwing curveballs? I think I'm pretty firm on it. The answer's no. And I was a little leaguer that did throw curveballs. But by the time I was 17, my fastball was actually going down. So an 86-mile-an-hour fastball in ninth grade turned into an 82-mile-an-hour fastball. And I think that had a lot to do with it, because when I was 12 years old playing in the Babe Ruth World Series, and I had the best curveball, and my coach was throwing that two down all the time, because we really wanted to win that game. So again, the lens I look through as a coach, big picture, and I think big picture is how strong and healthy can that arm be when you're 17 and 18. That way you don't have to pay $1 billion to go to college. You get that college scholarship, and then you've got some strength there to throw at 90, throw at 92 when it matters, 94, and then they'll teach you a good curveball. But yeah, the answer is no for me. Coach Fungo from Charlottesville, awesome job, Coach Fungo. He watered the field. He and his son came early to Charlottesville and got that field looking right, and he helped coach that sandlot. Attaboy, Coach Fungo. The next venture for me and Chopper, well, we'll have to answer that next week when Chopper's back. He's now Mr. Dad in Arizona, so he's coaching high school ball there. He's an athletic director there. But I do feel like we will continue to do these Tuesday rendezvous just for our mental health. It's really good for us to chat. He's just a great man, and I need good men in my life, pouring that love into my brain. So I'll keep knocking on his door forever to have Tuesday chats. And then I think what I would love to do is build the Sandlot Tour up so big that we need 3 or 4 coach ball games per city. And that's when we bring in Coach Flicky, we bring in Coach Chop. And then, say we have 100 kids and we've got 3 fields going. We've got great coaches on each field. So I'd love to have Chopper do that. I'd also like to do, and Mrs. Ballgame is a big advocate for this, is do a big coach fest here in Orange County, California, where I live, where we bring all you coaches and your kids out. We do a kids camp, and I kind of staff up with the best coaches I know, and there's a lot of them, but we staff up with that, and then everybody comes here. We have a kids camp, we have a coaches camp, and then you take your kid to Disneyland, you take your kid to Dodger Stadium, an Angel game. It's quite the destination. So raise your hand if you're on board for that, as we try and draw that up. And then we had Big Hurt, the biggest takeaway from the Sandlot thus far, good or bad. It's been all good, man. It's been all good. And I think I covered that, where just realizing there are so many great people in this land that just care about their kids' well-being. That this podcast and what I've done on my social media, we just hit 50,000 followers on Instagram. That all this stuff that I've been doing the last 8 years, and then the last 20 years coaching, it's actually doing something. That there are definitely changes being made for the better. So proud of the culture we've built, and man, just the beginning. All right, gang. Until next week, give Chopper an attaboy, and as he would say, don't forget to rate.